Hello all, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to IAmSpeed's Twilight Adventure. This is episode 9. So this is part 3 of my little series within a series talking about how to quickly get to the Dark Nurse. And this is one I think is one of the most important of the series because I didn't expect this to happen. So we're going to talk about the trouble of getting Mental Fortress unlocked in order to complete Radiator Water, which is much more difficult for light and dark accounts than it is for regular ones. So we also have like 10 or 12 Twilight summons, and we're almost at Pity. So hopefully this time we get a better LD4 toy than last video. So here we are back on the LD Only account, and I wanted to show you where I got stuck in my quest for the Dark Nurse. And I didn't really expect this to happen. So then that was quests 235 and 236, where you need to get a B rating on Radiator Water. And then you also have to get 5 materials of premium blue quality from Radiator Water. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just go to Radiator Water. I was getting like 200K and 150K per attempt. And I was like, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought. So when I was attempting to beat the water radiator, I didn't have access to the amplifiers from Mental Fortress, and there was no way I was going to beat the water radiator to open up Mental Fortress. So what I did is I went through every other radiator. So you can see my scores now, and they're certainly better than what they were when I was attempting this. But I tried every radiator, and all of them were bad, but the light and dark were the best ones for me. So in order to open up Mental Fortress so you can get access to those amplifiers, you need to kill one of the Abyss bosses. It can be Radiator, it can be Spreader, it can be the, what's the other one called? The Scavenger. And I tried all the bosses. I wasn't anywhere close on Spreaders and Scavengers. Radiators seemed doable. So I did all 5 of them. And initially the light was the best one. So that's the one I went after. And I'll show you that team. So when you're getting ready to unlock Mental Fortress, which will give you amplifiers, which will make beating Water Radiator on a higher score easier. And I think this really, Water Radiator is actually one of the more difficult dungeon bosses for a light and dark only account. So go after the light radiator first. It's much easier. And then you get Mental Fortress, and then we can really talk about Water Radiator. But in this video, we're going to talk about the light team. So we're going to go ahead and let it run, and then we'll talk about why each monster is there. And so the light Joker is pretty simple. He's there to put up a crit dampen, and he also puts an attack power break on the boss on the groggy states. But he's mostly there for the heal and the crit dampen, which helps keep your team alive longer. The lead is the light tank, which has a 25% light HP lead, which is the only HP lead available to you other than the dark tank until you get the Dark Nurse, unless you pull one through summons, which we can't expect that to happen. So this is my free-to-play light radiator team. These are all 3 stars that you can get from summoning. You don't have to worry about getting lightning. So the light tank is the lead. It's an HP lead, and it also does damage mitigation. So it's kind of similar to Darien in Summoner's War, where you reduce the amount of damage your team is taking. So the light tank is great for that. And then the light giant is a hoss. I mean, the light giant is awesome. So he heals, and when you get good enough gear on him, he does good damage. Like, we'll have to watch the next groggy state and see how much damage he's doing. And then the back row is all damage dealers. The dark Sharpshooter is there for its team up to get more hits on the boss so that you can reduce the counter that's placed on the front row monsters so that they can function better in the dungeon. And then the light and dark clockworks are there to do damage to get you to the groggy states so your team's not getting hit all the time. So there's a couple of debuffs, and We're waiting for defense break. Okay, so now we have a defense break. There's 55K, 30K, 50K, 36K, 22K, 45 from the Dark Sharpshooter, and there's 30 from the Giant, and that was his skill 1. Let's see if he can get skill 2 in. Oh, he didn't, but my Light Giant does about 50 or 60K, depending on the debuffs and which skill he's using. And so he's amazing. Here we are just taking the boss down, and this is much easier than when I did it. I swear I went through 30, 40 runs before I could take the boss out. And I tried all different kind of combinations of 3 stars, and these were really the only ones that could do it. And it's mostly because of the healing from the Giant. When he crits on the boss, he does a really nice heal. And we'll show you the gear here in just a minute. You can see everyone survived, and then the crit damp from the Light Joker really helps. So there we go, 2.6 million. And so that's an S rank. And so you can see the damage totals. Dark Clock is your main damage dealer. The Light Clock also does really good damage, and they're both on really good gear now, well, comparatively. But you can see the Dark Sharpshooter doesn't do that much. And then the Light Giant does a decent amount, but still is 4th in damage. And that Light Giant, he's essential. He's required for this dungeon early on, because without his healing, your team's not going to survive. The boss just does too much damage. And really, the Light Tank is essential too, because without the damage mitigation, you can't make it through. But let's take a look at those monsters, how they're geared up. And the first is the Light Giant. I just really like him. So the Light Giant is on HP, crit damage, HP, and that's because I can get him to 100% crit rate, because he only heals if he crits. So if you can't do crit damage, you've got to do crit rate. You have to have 100% crit. Otherwise, you're not going to be getting the healing benefits, and then your team won't make it. So he's on, and I noticed, and then another thing I did with all the monsters on the team as much as I could is I put them on revenge. So when the boss hit them, hopefully I'd get some hits in return, which reduces the counter on that effect that hurts your teammate. So he's on Revenge, and then he's on Inspire to help the Clockworks do more damage. And then I did need to use 2 Fatal Gear to get up to 100%. And his buffs don't matter. They have no impact on the boss. They do allow the Dark Sharpshooter to do a little more damage, but they don't really serve any purpose. So he's plus 22k HP, plus almost 800 defense. Speed doesn't matter that much, especially with him being on Revenge. And then the Inspire helps the other big damage dealers do more damage. So you can see it's just a lot of crit rate, crit damage, HP, defense. There's really not much else. And accuracy is not really needed. Resistance would be good, but it's not essential. We're talking very early game here. So that's the Light Giant. Love him. So here's the Light Joker, and you can see his stats are not as good. He's only plus 10,000 HP, less defense, but a pretty good amount of attack because I want him to be healing. His heal's based on attack. So he's on luck rate, crit damage, accuracy. And then you can see attack subs, speed subs, crit damage, accuracy. And accuracy is important for landing his debuff, which helps the Dark Sharpshooter do more damage. But he's really there for the crit dampen to help your team survive better. That's his main purpose. So the Light Tank is the last monster in the front row, and it's on HP, HP, HP. So you can see plus 25k HP and almost 600 defense. And then I didn't build him for damage, but I built him with a decent amount of 44% accuracy because you want him to land his defense break, which allows you to do more damage, get a higher score on the groggy states for the boss. So that's what he's on. And you can see with his ability, he stuns, but that doesn't matter on the boss. Damage is based on max HP, and damage is based on max HP on skill 2. And that defense down, plus it's 3 hits. Because that counter that impacts your monsters on the front row, you want to get rid of that as soon as possible. When he does skill 2, he takes 3 hits off that counter. So that's really nice. Then you can see the passive here. Not only does it increase the max HP of your allies, but it also decreases the incoming damage of all allies except him by 15%. So that really helps the team survive. And then there's the light teammates get 25% HP. So fabulous monster on the front row. And then the dark sharpshooter is the first nuker in the back row. You can see the dark sharpshooters on luck, crit damage, attack. And when I first had to clear this, I think it was on HP, crit damage, HP, because it kept dying to the boss, and I had to make it tankier. But now that we've gotten past that and we're getting better gear overall, you don't need it as much. So I'm double fatal and then a shield, just to give extra shield to the beginning of the battle. Helps them survive better. And she's there for damage and debuffs. Her mark debuff really helps the score that you get when you're killing the boss. So Dark Clockwork is the main damage dealer on the team. And he's on speed, crit damage, attack. And then I put as much HP and defense and speed on him as I could with the rest of the gear. And his accuracy is not enough. I wish it was more. But the accuracy doesn't matter in the dungeons because he's not going to stun. The main thing the Dark Clockwork does is stun. You're not going to stun the boss, so he doesn't need accuracy here. You want him to be tankier and be able to do more damage. So he's at crit rate 77, 141% crit damage, and swift revenge. So that's, and he's there to do damage. That's what he does. And then finally, the Light Clockwork is the last nuker in the team. And he's on speed, crit damage, attack. And again, I stuck as much, first I went for crit rate and crit damage and a little bit of speed. Oh, actually, quite a bit of speed there, 26. That's nice. But I went for as much HP. Ooh, maybe even make him tankier here. Yeah, let's get his HP up a little bit. Because we're still on minimal, and we can even get his defense up a little bit. So there we go. Now he's tankier. Hopefully he helps survive a bit longer. Okay, and so the debuff I was talking about while we were going through the team was called the Imprison Beam. And this is actually one of the easiest debuffs that the bosses put on in all the Radiators. So all the Imprison Beam does is it attacks all enemies, but one of the front row monsters is selected at random to have a high failure rate for any ability with cooldown. So if they use anything other than skill 1, they have a really high chance to fail. And it is very true that if they have this Imprison Beam on them, they're not doing their other skills very much. Imprison Beam doesn't have too much of a bad effect on the Light Giant because you only have 2 skills and only ones with cooldown. Good luck on beating the Light Radiator. And you can also try the Dark one. Maybe you have better success with that than I did. And it was fairly close to this one, but I just like the Light one better. Once you beat the Light Radiator, then you can go do the Water Mental Fortress so that you can start adding to your boxing club gear so that you can make the push for the Water Radiator, which without amplifiers, it's very difficult. Got to admit. So that's it for the Light Radiator, but we do have some summons to do. We're at 17 out of 18 on pity for Twilights, so I'm really hoping that we can get at least one lightning. We just pulled a Nat 5. I don't even remember what it was because they don't matter. So our pity has been reset for Nat 5. So we're just going to do the regular Illyrians here just to work on our pity count. I'm just going to, hey, maybe we'll get super lucky and we'll get another Nat 5 wisp catcher. Hey, how about we get the light wisp catcher? Then that could be a skill up. That would be outstanding. We're here for the Twilights. We got 12 Twilights. And I mean, this is what everybody comes to this video series for, is the Twilight summons. So here we go. When can we get a lightning? Or there's another light giant. Ooh, that is nice IVs. So my light giant just got a lot better. I think my current one is like a 3 or a 4. So that's a good get. Another light pumpkin. Bad IVs though. So that's just a skill up. Light Euryleon. Dark Popo Rider with bad IVs. We have 7 left. And what's our... We're at 22 out of 18, which means we have a 30% chance to get a LD4, or a Twilight 4. Come on, where's that light? Okay, here we go. What did we get? Oh, man. Dark Wisp Catcher. Action bar decrease. So it is an Oblivion unit. Does a little extra damage. Okay, so I mean, we'll build them. I mean, we don't have anything else to do in terms of light darks, so just not what I was really wanted, that light witch. And so dark Euryleon, bad IVs. Another Joker with bad IVs, so that's a skill up. Popo Rider, slightly better IVs, I think. Could we get a dark Sharpshooter with really good IVs? That would be nice. Dark Hog with bad IVs, 2 left. Dark Clockwork with 4 attack. Not that I need 3 Dark Clockworks, but maybe for Territory Wars. Another Light Joker with a bad IV. So, okay, once again, not the best summons, but we did get a new toy, and we got a much better Light Giant. So, and we probably will build a 3rd Dark Clockwork for Territory Wars. So, things to work on. And we'll be back soon with more videos on how to get to the Dark Nurse as quickly as possible. Up next is Mental Fortress. So, until the next video, see ya.